Hiya folks, it's Kikoskia here, and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity. And when last we left off, we confronted Lord Harrond with what we'd learned in the Temple of Skaen. He let slip that he knew about Alice being pregnant before we told him that we'd let her go. And then, when we said that we'd tell everyone about what he'd done, he simply retorted, "Who would believe you?" Tossing a bag of gold at us, telling us to put the whole thing behind us. And we did. Oh, that we did. Lirin was already furious. Lord Harrond's reaction left her seething. He was going to walk away and escape justice, but justice was still delivered. He's not going to be causing trouble anymore. Dealing with Lord Harrond permanently gave us a fantastic amount of reputation with Deerfoot. We are now a hero, moderately good. Defiance Bay we only have neutral reputation. I believe we had decent reputation before. It's diminished somewhat. Here's all of our personal stats, by the way. The most powerful enemy we defeated is a vampire. And 2 months and 6 days has elapsed since we began this adventure. Now, there are a few things we could do. We could go and attempt to take in that final bounty. We're not going to. We could also try and clear the encounter that's preventing us from going further down into Od Nua. I don't think we can do that either.
I'm here.
There are a few other things we could attempt, though. One of those is trying to find our way to the area that the expansion is based in. However, I think it is finally time to start heading towards Defiance Bay. Now, we have a few things we need to do. So, never far from the Queen, we need to go to the City of Defiance. There's also Dream and Memory. We have the Long Hunt, the Master Below, the Trials of Endurance, and Fragments of a Shattered Faith. Travel with Adir to the Records Archive. Adir believes he may be able to find more about the circumstances of his brother's death in Defiance Bay. He suggests there might be records of the Saints' War in an archive in the Ducal Palace. Let's see if we can go get to that archive. Now, if we go down here, we can head to the Edelwan Bridge. I wonder if there's a route there that we can take that brings us that way up north. But either way, Edelwan Bridge. 22 hours, let's go. Ooh. The trappings of civilization Beckham. The tower construction has been completed. And I think the next thing I want to build is the Bailey. The Bailey houses various necessities for keeping the stronghold self-sufficient. Building this upgrade will allow you to upgrade the grounds further. 2 prestige, which will then allow me to make the chapel, and also the... where is it? There's a forum, I think, somewhere. Yep, forum gives you 4 as well. We need a lot of prestige.
I'm here.
Okay, let's head this way. Cross this bridge. This bridge looks very fancy. I'm going to guess that something will happen on this bridge, otherwise there wouldn't be an area for it. Oh, there are 2 people that we're not going to talk to there. There's a commoner. Hello. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. And another commoner. And another commoner. And another person made by a backer. We have more commoners. Ooh, the music. Welcome to Defiance Bay, but watch yourself in our city, understand? Understood.
I'm here.
Let's see if we can talk with you.
Hail, traveler.
What can I do for you? This is a Justicar Fulgrant. What can you tell me about Defiance Bay? Sorry, but I don't have time right now, but it sounds like that Dozens crackpot, Rowan, is stirring up trouble again. He jerks his head at the gate. He'd be all too happy to give you a rundown of the city, liberally flavoured with Dozens propaganda, of course. I'm looking for the Temple of Wodica. He scratches his head. Not sure why you'd want to go there, he shrugs. It's in First Fires if you really want to see it. You seem on edge, sir. What's the problem? Thousands of them, truth be told. We've got refugees coming in from all parts, under some misguided notion that things are actually better here, that the legacy somehow passed us over. So they show up with no prospects and little money and just end up making a worse mess of things. He looks you up and down. No offence. None taken. Goodbye. He grunts. Good luck to you. Well, that's concerning. The expedition out of Admath's den just organised grave robbery. Oh dear. There is a little area over here. Is there something to loot there? You know,
Yes.
I'm going to check. Is there something to loot here? I know we're being spotted. Is there something here? The answer is no. Is there something here? The answer is likely no. Double check. You'd never be sure. There's nothing here. Okay.
I'm here.
Let's go in. Right, so the first place we can go to, and the first place you have to go to is Copperlane. First Fires is where the temple is. Hopefully we can get to the Ducal Palace quickly. 15 minutes to complete your journey. That's barely any time at all. We have arrived at the most populated settlement in the region.
Defiance Bay. The city at the heart of the Deerwoods Revolution now seems on the brink of another. Refugees line the streets, homeless and hungry, displaced by White One's legacy, hoping for relief within the city walls, and finding none. Dissidents congregate to protest and to heckle, calling for an end to animancy and the ouster of their duke. The city's militiamen cast fearful looks as they patrol the streets, their hands trembling at the hilts of their weapons. The capital of a country that had not long ago incinerated a god now appears to be a spark away from sharing the deity's fate.
Oh dear. Well, here we are.
At once.
Here we are. Ooh. This is a fancy area. At least on the outset it looks it. You're busy working. You're having it.
It used to be a lot less of a mess.
Yeah. Apparently things are not so good here. These animals have brought divine wrath on us all, and yet the Duke and his toadies and the Crucible Knights do nothing! Can we allow these atrocities to continue unchecked? No! Down with animancy! Wainwood's legacy was one warning, Heritage Hill was another. Heritage Hill? Spread the word! Together we'll drive the blight of animancy out of our city!
I'm here.
Good day to you.
Rowan's arms are crossed and his mouth is set in a grim frown as he watches the gathered protesters. He looks ready for a fight. He sizes you up. New in town, eh? You've picked an interesting time to visit Defiance Bay. All these refugees fleeing the frontier and finding the legacy's no better here. It's the animancers. Magrans scorch 'em, and they nest in this city like rats. You mark my words, though, us dozens are gonna put a stop to it. What are you doing out here? He gestures at the crowd, which buzzes with angry chatter, trying to get the folks to see reason. We're in the midst of a crisis, and instead of purging the nefarious forces from our city, the Duke is granting animancers dangerous liberties. What do you know about animancy? It's the study and manipulation of essence, which any sane person will tell you is purview of the gods. The Odirans at least have the sense to outlaw it, which is the only good thing you can say about them. It's not like magic, chanting, or the soul reading those ciphers do. It's been around since ancient Engwithan times, which is why you'll see animancers tinkering with old Engwithan artifacts. Kana raises a fist to cough discreetly into it. Half-truths all, but he's an enthusiastic performer, I'll give him that. He shakes his head. Trouble is, the animancers got no idea what half those artifacts actually do. Not that they'll admit it. Our emphatic friend is correct about one thing at least. Tell me about the dozens. He taps his chest. We're an organisation of interested citizens who want to free Defiance Bay from the dangerous influence of animancers and the tyranny of the aristocrats who support them. We also consider ourselves a militia of sorts, seeing as the Crucible Knights are little more than a flock of preening nobles in training these days. Just like a militia, the dozens, except for the training, and the discipline, and the code of honour. His eyes gleam, and we're always looking to expand. The more people see things our way, the better for the state of the country. You have any interest in hearing more, stop by Admeth's Den sometime. The Expedition Hall. Lot of free thinkers in there, can set straight all the nonsense the nobles and the animancers want you to believe. Might even be some paid work for motivated types. I'd like to know about Defiance Bay, please. It's the capital of the free palatinate of the Deerwood. We started out as the capital of an Adheran colony, but we booted the flaccid sceptre from these lands 150 years ago. These days, we're a major port receiving trade and visitors from all over the world, but we, some of us anyway, strive to hold on to the pioneering spirit that earned us our freedom a century and a half ago. The city's divided into 5 districts: Copperlane, First Fairs, Ondra's Gift, Brackenbury and Heritage Hall. He ticks each off on a calloused finger. Tell me about Copperlane. This here's Copperlane. Taps a scuffed boot on the cobblestones. It's primarily a market district, but you've also got the Expedition Hall directly north of here, where you can join treks into the wild. That's also where my fellow dozens, martyrs, and I tend to meet up with other concerned citizens. He points to a long domed building west and north of your position, and that's the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Eerie place, if you ask me, but they've got the biggest library in the Deerwood. Might be useful. Carter laughs. Eerie indeed. It might be less so if more kith stepped inside. Perhaps you ought to visit Lirin and see what mysteries are revealed. Good idea. What about Brackenbury? A noise of disgust rattles in his throat. The nobility that didn't sail back to Adir stayed there. Most of the families there trace their lineage back to old imperial times. Other than a lot of has-been nobility, you've got Hadrit Hall, where Lady Webb and her spies operate, and Brackenbury Sanitarium, the main cesspit of animancy in the city. He spits on the cobblestones. What about First Fires? That's where the revolution started, hence the name. These days it's overrun with politicians and panderers, but we'll take it back someday. That's where you'll find the Ducal Palace, the Valian Embassy, and the Crucible Keep. He shakes his head. The Crucible Knights were the original freedom fighters in Defiance Bay, but now they're just strutting peacocks with their eyes on fancy titles and their heads up their asses. There's an old temple of Wodica there too. We keep it real nice for her. He winks. What about Ondra's Gift? Got the name because it was a wetland that was drained back in the Imperial days. Now it's a seedy district populated by sailors, common folk, and more than a few thugs. But it's a fun place too if you know where to look. He winks and elbows you. Look for a place called the Salty Mast while you're there. Other than that, it's mostly warehouses and abandoned homes. And what about Heritage Hill? He shivers. It used to be one of the more prestigious districts in the city. Heroes of the Revolution claimed plots up there, next to an ancient Engwithan tower and the city cemetery. Had the best views of Defiance Bay. Attracts richer types these days. Lot of animancy patrons. He spits. He glances at the crowd and lowers his voice. You wouldn't have heard, but something happened over there a couple months ago. The authorities sealed it off and they're keeping their mouths shut. But mark my words, animancy's to blame. Let's talk about something else. Farewell for now. Well, that's a lot of leads. A lot of leads. Anything we can loot? No. Anything over here? Yes is the answer. There's tons of stuff everywhere. We're walking by ourselves. We'd best not do that just in case somebody ambushes us.
Yes?
Big city, that could happen. Okay, over here is a grand total of nothing. Let's go over here. Hello. Cross the bridge. Get ambushed by someone that wants to chat with us? No. This is Goose and Fox. Well, we're heading in. If it's a tavern, we might get information. Or a quest. Or ambushed. Or all of those. Okay, we have here some Bacca-made people. This Stalegar's pelt is thick with dust and the moths. The plaque below it reads, Maiden falls 2682. We have Bishop. We have... that I think is stealing. A bunch of people. A mercenary. A miserable goit.
I'm here.
Someone we can talk to. A woman sits by herself, spinning something on the table in front of her and watching it with furious intensity. It's about the size of a coin, and it wobbles over a crack in the wood with a metallic rattle. She snatches it up with one good hand and slams a half-empty cup down on the table with the other. This is not a good time. You look like you could use another drink. I'll get there. She takes a long drink from her glass, just trying to calm down. I'm trying to talk myself out of something foolish. Something foolish? She says nothing for a few moments, as if hoping you'll leave. At last, Kenra looks up at you. A lamplight falls across her face. A purpling bruise is blossoming along her cheekbone. There's something I need to give to my fiancé, Pernisk. Only he doesn't seem to go anywhere without his new friends, and they're not exactly pleasant company. Who hit you? She shakes her head. I know how this looks, but you don't understand. It's not like Pernisk. It's these new friends of his. They brought out the worst in him. Tell me about these new friends. They come into our house with their dead eyes and their black teeth. I'm not a fool. I know what it means. Pernisk makes me leave when they show up, but it's obvious what they come to do. Last time they came, I told them to get out. Let them have their fun somewhere in the gift, but not under my roof. She scowls and then winces, her fingertips gently probing her bruise. Svev changes you, I guess. The Pernisk I knew wouldn't have squashed a spider. I never thought he'd... She trails off, still feeling the swollen, discoloured flesh. But Svev makes people calm and listless. It shouldn't make them violent. Kenra shrugs. I don't really know. Seemed better than believing he's always been this way. Maybe I could talk to him. Her hands rest on the table, and she clenches it into a white-knuckled fist. There's nothing more to say to him. We're finished. I just want to give this back to him and have a clean break. She opens her hand, and a ring clatters onto the table. It was his grandmother's. Even after this, I don't have the heart to sew it off. But if I go back there myself, I know what'll happen. I'll lose my temper, and I'll probably wind up with another one of these. She points to her bruise. But I've heard you're trustworthy. If you give this back to him, he'll know we're done. Interesting. I'll take this ring to Pernisk then. She looks at you and nods. The house is just north of here. Just... please don't hurt him. As furious as I am, I don't want that on my conscience. Okay. We have a quest. Return a ring and tell the man it's over. Well, there's stuff here. A dwarf and an Orlan debate philosophy on the other side of the curtain. We have this too. The painting depicts Glanfathan ruins. The canvas bears the rough brushstrokes of a talented amateur. Ibral's Well 2665. There's you. And nothing else there of note. There's also the kitchen. We could go into the kitchen. We could
Not sure how I
unlock
feel
that.
about this. Hope that helps.
But doing anything with it is classed as stealing. We're not going to do that. We could talk to the proprietor of this business, and I think we shall before we head upstairs.
You're
See what's going on?
quite friendly, aren't you?
The man behind the bar is nearly the size of an Omawa. A handle protrudes from his back, and his face is set in a stoic frown. He gives you a small nod. Here for a drink? There's a tiny pewter cup in front of him. He turns it in one broad hand, but doesn't drink from it. This is a lively place. It was founded in the early days of Deerwood and independence by a travelling scholar named Errol of Levy. He wanted a place where kith of all backgrounds could gather and hash out the issues facing their new country. He rests his elbows on the polished wood of the bar. It didn't take long for the place to fill up. Brackenbury aristocrats argue with dock workers from the grift, while soldiers wrangle with politicians. Deerwoodens have never been known to turn down an argument. He takes a sip from the tiny cup. What happened next? Soon, kith were coming from the farms and settlements too. He waves at the door, as if expecting a crowd to bustle him. This place got even more popular with the Valian sailors than the salty mast. And that was the problem. He drains his cup. No matter what people say about fair-mindedness and civil debate, there's only so much people will tolerate. Errol found himself on the wrong side of an argument with the wrong Thayan, and when he disappeared a few days later, some said it was the work of that Thayan. He shrugs, spreading his hands over the bar as he surveys the room. But Errol knew which way the wind was blowing. If you ask me, he skipped town, hid out somewhere, hoping for rational minds to prevail in Defiance Bay. He cracks a wry grin. If only he could see it now. Tell me about yourself. Name's Bishop. Used to be a scholar of Berath. Now I run the Goose and Fox and keep the regulars in line. He shifts, and you see a warhammer strapped to his back. What was there to tell? How'd you go from religion to taverns? The journey isn't as long as you'd think. It started with hollowborn, and with this. He takes a black bottle from under the bar and fills the pewter cup. This was my sister's son. He takes a drink. At the beginning of the Wayward's legacy. He was one of the first. I never expected there would be so many after him. Tragedy is part of a cycle, but it's followed by rebirth. Yet every year, more parents were grieving for their hollowborn children, and the gods were silent. So you lost your faith? He leans forward, crossing his arms on the bar. Berath promises rebirth, cycles, but the only cycle I found was this one. He taps the bar. I have a drink, have another, and another until I couldn't remember how I got home. Wake up, come back. I finally woke up one day to see my family had packed up and left. For all I know, they'd left days before and I just hadn't noticed. But they were gone. So I came here. I've cleaned up since then. Not that I found my answers. He tosses the cup back. I've just stopped asking questions. Goodbye. Well, that's
I'm
grim.
here.
Seems like Defiance Bay has a lot of problems. Perhaps we can help to solve some of them. Is the key item here? It is! A gold band laced with Ardra accents. And when we come back, we'll go do just that after checking upstairs in this tavern. We'll also eventually go and check out the place that the dozens call home. I don't know what to think about them. There's more to that than meets the eye. Definitely more to that than meets the eye. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're not. And if you are subscribed, press that bell for those notifications. And I'll catch you next time, folks. And I'll see you then. Later.